What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Battlefront 2 Mythbusters. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be focusing on some myths surrounding General Grievous, seeing as he's only been in the game for around 2 or 3 weeks. As I'm sure you all know, he has been fairly buggy since launch, so when he does receive some fixes, some of these tests may become irrelevant after that update. If you do happen to be watching this after we've already received Geonosis and Obi-Wan, just bear in mind that this video may not be completely accurate. Now, if you haven't seen the first episode of Battlefront 2 Mythbusters, there will be a link on screen at the end of the video, as well as a card in the top right of your screen, so feel free to go and check that one out as well. So anyway, in this video, we are going to be covering a couple of different myths, the first one being whether Yoda's block can actually block or cancel Grievous's Claw Rush, and then also whether there are specific abilities from other characters that can cause his Claw Rush to become bugged. So getting into the first myth, and we're going to be testing whether anything can actually block or cancel Grievous's Claw Rush ability. This idea actually came from the Twisted Jedi, who I'm sure a lot of you guys probably know, and he mentioned this after what happened on one of my streams only a few days ago. Apologies for the terrible quality, but as you can see here, I was playing as Yoda, and as I saw Grievous rushing towards me, I sort of panicked and held down the L2 button to block, and somehow his Claw Rush didn't actually affect me at all. Now, this could have just been a bug or something like that, but I thought it was definitely worth testing out, as we all know that Yoda's block can do some pretty crazy stuff at times. Surprisingly though, when I actually tested it in the arcade, the result was exactly the same as in the clip you just saw. He actually did block the Claw Rush ability, and while he did still take the damage, he wasn't knocked to his feet in the way that everyone else does when they get hit by the ability. I tested it without the block as well, just to make sure it was working, and it did do as it was supposed to, but as you can see on the second attempt with the block, it didn't knock Yoda down, so it does seem as if Yoda can actually block Grievous's Claw Rush. Now, like I always say in these videos, arcade can be very different from multiplayer at times, so you do always need to take these tests with a grain of salt, but the fact that it happened in both arcade and multiplayer definitely seems like it's leaning towards being true. While I was at it, I then just wanted to quickly test whether the Heavy's shield was able to block the Claw Rush, as I feel like this has happened in game before, but as you can see from this clip, it does work as it's intended to against the Heavy's combat shield. I could have sworn this has happened to me in multiplayer before, however it could have just been a bug as well, and like I said earlier, since he is pretty buggy at the moment, all of these tests do need to be taken with a grain of salt because they most likely aren't very consistent as of right now. So to summarise, I'm not going to 100% confirm it, as like I said, things can change between multiplayer and arcade, but from the footage you guys have just seen, it definitely looks about 99% correct that Yoda can actually block Grievous's Claw Rush. As for the Heavy's combat shield, this won't protect you at all from the Claw Rush ability, so it's definitely best to get out of the way rather than trying to block it. So now moving on to the next myth that I wanted to test, and this one was whether it's true that there are some specific abilities within the game that can cause Claw Rush to become bugged. Overall, this is easily the most reliable ability that he does have, but it does still seem to get bugged from time to time, so I thought it was worth testing whether there are certain things that can bring on those bugs. The main bug I'm going to be touching on is the one where you continue to take damage 3 or 4 times after Grievous hits you with the Claw Rush, and one of the ways that I've seen this happen is when Rey and Grievous both hit each other with the Claw Rush and the Dash Strike abilities at the same time. I tested this out, and as you can see, it does happen exactly as I thought it did. If you both use the abilities at the same time, both will knock each other down and cancel the abilities, yet Grievous deals damage 3 separate times, and I've seen it happen up to 4 times in multiplayer as well. It's pretty safe to say that if you see Grievous rushing towards you, it's not ideal to try and counter it with the Death Strike, as even though you will knock him down as well, you'll also take 3 times the amount of damage than normal. Next, I wanted to test it on Luke to see if a well-timed force push or repulse would have the same effect, and as you can see, the exact same thing happened as Rey's Dash Strike, dealing 3 separate amounts of damage after that first hit had landed. I tested this a few times, and to be honest, it was a little inconsistent, but the first attempt does show that a force push can actually cause the ability to become bugged, but the timing definitely seems to be an issue, so this is probably a less common occurrence than Rey's Dash Strike. I then tested it probably 20 times with the repulse, and again this was a really inconsistent test, so I'm still not really sure if this does cause the bug or not. It did give 2 separate sets of damage as you can see, however that could have just been Grievous landing and causing damage similar to how it does when he cancels the ability on his own. Next, I decided to try this on Yoda's push as well, and this ended in the exact same result as Luke's push, with it still dealing the 3 sets of damage. This one was a lot harder to get the timing right, so that's probably why it doesn't happen as much with Yoda, but if the timing is right, then it actually will get the same result as both Luke and Rey. I then tried it with Yoda's Dash Strike, and to my surprise this actually goes 100% in Yoda's favour. When you use a Dash Strike against the Claw Rush, you'll take no damage at all, while Grievous will take damage and get the ability to become bugged as well. So this is actually a pretty handy tip to know. If Grievous is rushing at you, either hold the block or use your dash strike and you can completely avoid the claw rush ability altogether. Now, seeing as Yoda's dash worked really well in his favour, I thought I'd try the same with Luke and see whether that would end in the same result. Unfortunately though, this test didn't go well for Luke, as it actually gave the same result as his force push, ending in 3 sets of damage plus getting knocked down as well. I did test this a few times however, and you can see on the second and third attempts it only damaged Luke once, so that pretty much shows just how inconsistent this bug is, as it pretty much gives different results with every single test. So to summarise this myth, Rey and Luke's dash strike as well as Yoda and Luke's force push abilities do cause the claw rush bug where you take more damage than you should. However, Yoda's dash strike worked the other way, pretty much granting complete immunity to the claw rush ability. The bugs do seem to be pretty inconsistent, and I guess that's to be expected seeing as they are bugs, but from what we could see in these clips, at least we have a rough idea of what does and doesn't cause them to happen. Just like I mentioned earlier guys, there is always a slight chance of difference between arcade and multiplayer, so make sure to take these tests with a grain of salt. And like I said, if you are watching this after the Geonosis patch, then there's every chance some of this stuff may no longer be correct. So anyway, that is going to be it for this episode of Battlefront 2 Mythbusters guys. As this is a relatively new series to the channel, I'd love it if you guys could smash that like button and let me know what you thought of the video down below. If you do have anything you'd like me to test in an upcoming episode, whether it be for Grievous or just anything in the game, then definitely feel free to leave your ideas down in the comments section. If you guys are new to the channel, then feel free to subscribe and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any more Battlefront 2 guides or live streams. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys have a great day and I'll catch you all in the next one.